recording just a little bit.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negative.
What's going on, everyone? This is Matt, Squeaky Clean Air. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be taking apart my 2006 to 2012, same steering wheel pretty much, Lexus GS steering wheel, because I am selling my carbon fiber one. I changed my steering wheel to something different in the GS. That's going to be a reveal for another video. But I'm basically taking it apart because I'm going to be selling the shell, the frame, which is made out of carbon fiber. I had it customized last year, and I was running a custom steering wheel for all this season of 2021 season, but I'm changing it up a little bit for 2022. That's going to come in a bit. But the actual carbon fiber shell, which is kind of like a common mod that a lot of guys are doing lately. There's a lot of suppliers that are supplying carbon fiber shells, and people are able to take their factory steering wheels with airbags and various kind of cool things and transfer it over into a nice modified carbon fiber shell, so it retains your airbag, which is very important for safety. We like safety. I like safety. And another, you're able to retain all of your cruise controls and switches and all that kind of stuff. So I really kind of like that idea. I had a Momo aftermarket steering wheel with an energy quick release on my Lexus GS for a while, but I didn't like the fact that I couldn't do cruise control and other control functions, so it kind of pissed me off. So I kind of went this route. But what we're doing today, without further ado, is we're going to be reverse engineering it basically. So removing it all apart to the shell and swapping out all the components, and thereby, by hopefully you guys seeing it being reverse engineered or taken apart, you're able to kind of figure out how you'll be able to do it the opposite direction in order, when you do buy a shell, in order to put it together using the factory components. So enjoy. Oh, so okay, so here we go. So these are basically, this is basically what it is. Full carbon fiber shell. It's been cut, so it's got a custom cut on the bottom. I wanted to go with a perforated leather. I know you have options of Alcantara. I had a nice little red ring in the center with red stitching. So it's kind of cool because, as I said, you retain your factory airbag, important for safety. I like safety. All of your controls are basically factory. So you got your Bluetooth, you got your displays, you got your modes and blah, blah, blah. And then you have your cruise control. So I kind of like this idea because you have the feel of like a nice luxury steering wheel that's been modified. It's lower profile compared to stock, because stock is rounded, so it's a lot bigger. And you get sort of the best of both worlds and a beautiful carbon fiber finish. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to be taking it apart. So, things first. So, this is basically how you're going to have your factory steering wheel, right? In order to get to the components inside, in order to be able to remove this switch panel here and this switch panel here, as well as this this airbag, there's two screws on the sides. Okay, so let's go this way. And they're right here. They're the funky star screws. You know, I'm not really good at naming these principles. It took me about probably 15 years to figure out what a Phillips is and a flathead and stuff like that. So you need one of these guys. I have one of these guys here. I have a multiple tool. Not a product placement for Milwaukee, but anyways, it just happens to be Milwaukee. It's tool of the day, I guess. And this is it right here. Come on, let's zoom in. Yeah, and, okay, right here, one of these guys. So what you're going to do is you're obviously going to remove your plastic covers. This is, when you look at your factory steering wheel, obviously in the car, you're going to see all this is going to be covered with a plastic cover. So you got to remove these on both sides. There's another one over here, and that will reveal the access to those screws. So, as you guessed it, the next step is to remove those screws. But surprise, surprise, these screws don't actually come out. You can only loosen them. They are retained by a plastic clip inside there, so you cannot fully pull it out, or you should not be fully able to pull it out on your steering wheel. But you keep turning and turning and turning and turning and loosening them up until they basically max out, where you cannot take it out anymore. And that will allow you to loosen up the airbag mechanism here. Let me see if I can flatten it out. And then you should be able to pull this whole airbag out. Now be careful, because obviously this airbag is connected, and it's connected by two things. It's connected by a ground, which is over here, okay, and it's connected by these airbag switches which go through your steering column over here. So just be very careful how you remove them, and these pop out. These basically pop out. Why did I go into this mode? But these basically pop out. There's a procedure on how to remove them. You guys probably can find it on the internet and get more insight into how to do it. But once you are pop those out, basically they remove with a flathead. There's like a little clip which you have to pull out, and then you're able to pull it out from the recessed socket. Then you're able to take the airbag and you're able to put it like this. Be very careful because you don't want this thing to explode. So, I mean, when they're powered up and connected, you know, they're live and stuff like that, they might explode, but you don't want to introduce any sort of like stress. You don't want to just toss it at the side of the shop because you don't want it to prematurely kind of come out and expose. So just put it in a safe place and then you'll be okay. Now, by any means, this is not a full out guide on how to do it. Please, if you damage something with your steering wheel or if your airbag explodes and stuff like that, I will not be held liable. This is just simply for demonstrations. It's just simply on my own steering wheel and sort of to get you guys an idea how I did it. So, okay, remove the airbag, right? Once the airbag is removed, this is the guts and the glory of the actual steering wheel. Okay, so what are we going to remove? Well, we're going to remove this. As you can see, is retained by Phillips there. We're going to remove this screw. It's retained by Phillips here. And then you also have the assembly for the cruise control, which is attached here by these two screws. So let's do that now and slowly remove these components. Okay, so a bit of a surprise. The cruise control assembly was very easy to remove. It's right here. Not a real tough problem. So that was okay, just the two screws that were there. But in order to remove these, which I loosened up, I guess you can't. So you have to remove this retaining bracket over here, or support bracket for the steering wheel. So it's mounted by two screws, which you will see in the previous video if you scroll back. But these two screws are removed, and that will allow you to remove this retention bracket. And as you guys can see, we're slowly chipping away at the frame, right? Because the company is not going to send you a full steering wheel. The company is just going to send you a frame, or they're going to ask you to send your frame to them. They'll customize it and send it back. I was lucky enough that they had a GS frame in stock, believe it or not. And I just basically bought the whole frame. It's a little bit more money, but it's worth it because then I have my factory steering wheel that I can transfer all these things back to. So, okay, it's still not coming out. So I guess there is still another screw that holds it. Okay, so I think what we're going to do next is we're going to remove the plastic cover, the back plastic cover, by removing these two screws. Let's do that now. Let's see if I think there's a screw behind there, from behind here, that you need to remove in order to pop these out. So we're going to try that right now. Yes. So we did flip it. I did flip it in order to get to the cover, in order to be able to pull it up. And then what revealed is these connectors. Be very careful to remove these. These are just lodged in like that, so you don't just pull out the plastic cover. Okay, behind the plastic cover there's these connections which connect to two switch panels, and that's probably one of the reasons why you're not able to just pull them out, because that way you'll basically sever this off. So Toyota is smart in the design on how they did it. You got to remove the cover in order to reveal the connections, in order to be able to know that you can't just simply pull them out and off you go, right? They're connected somehow. So that's what we did. We removed the back cover, and as you can see, these are the screws that are sort of did not want to completely thread out, is because they're held together here by a special sort of a plastic cover for them to be able to be removed. So when you remove the cover, well, I guess they do fall out, but for all intents and purposes, we'll put it back. This brings me to another point. Retain all of your hardware and all of your screws in one place. It's better to retain all of your hardware in one place and have it in one place than scatter it all over the place and then lose it. At least maybe if you won't know where to put the screws back, at least you'll have the hardware, as opposed to not having the hardware and then not knowing where to put the screws back on the steering wheel. Get what I mean? So keep all the hardware in one place. Don't worry about, try to remember, obviously, how to put it back together. But if you don't, at least you're going to be working with hardware. You can trace that back. But if you scatter it all over the place and try to put their own individual piles, chances are it's going to get messy because as you're going to be moving it around in a limited space, you're going to move the hardware around and you're going to get confused. So keep it all in one space. Just a little tip for the day. Okay, so the plastic cover is off. So far we removed the steering wheel, airbag, okay? The back cover, we removed the cruise control assembly, and we moved the retention bracket that you have to have, that I guess for support, that you need to remove in order to remove the back cover. So as you guys can see, we're going slowly into the shell. And then over here, we have the button connectors, which I believe are attached in some way. Yes, by these clips. So you got to pull these out. So what you need for that is a flathead. So I'm just going to sort of pull them out like that, gently, so you don't break them. And then what that'll allow you to do is will allow you to release it. But I think they're still, yeah, it's still connected. Never mind. I got to flip this over again. And this one in particular, I did not remove this screw, so I got to remove it. But I guess once you remove this screw, you'll be able to pop the clip. So let me do that right now. All right, so remove the screw. Obviously, when you're working with this carbon fiber steering wheel, try to put it on a nice flat surface with no gouges and nice and clean, because you don't want to scratch it up. But basically what we're going to do now is, because both of the screws here are removed, now we're able to use a flathead of some sort and sort of pry these out. And as you can see, it kind of just slides out. And there's another one on this side, so you kind of have to gently put pressure on it and sort of pull it out. Think of it as like a retention clip over here. So just kind of pull it out with a screwdriver, and then it'll get loose. You do it from both sides. Just gently kind of push it out. There you go. See how it released? And then you're able to release that out. So there is one. I guess you can keep them as a full unit. Probably not a good idea to remove this connection. Try to keep it as a full unit. The less you remove, the better. We're going to kind of do the same thing here. We're just going to kind of put a flathead and pry it a little bit. And as you're kind of prying, you kind of push it a little bit. Not too hard. Be gentle, because these are expensive. But as you can see, you're kind of putting it over here, just so you kind of loosen out of its brackets, and you sort of wiggle it out. All right. And there you go. So a closer look at these. You guys will see how they are. See, they're like little clips, and these clips, basically, when it's pressed in, these clips or these notches sit, and they kind of lock it in place over here. So you got to kind of like pry out the notches a little bit with a flathead, right? You got to pull them back in order to remove that block there, so you're able to kind of push it out. So that's really the whole mechanism behind it. So there you go. So these are all the switches together with the grounding unit for the airbag. Right here, I keep them as a full unit, not separated, as you can see. And I think that's it. There's the shell. There's the shell. You know? So once you've removed your steering wheel from your car, you're basically going to have it as the beginning of the video, right? Probably most likely your airbag will already be disconnected, okay? And the reason why your airbag will probably most likely be disconnected is because you can't remove the steering wheel without removing the airbag. That's probably the first thing you're going to do in order to remove it. So this is just basically to demonstrate how you can take the carbon fiber shell that you would buy, which is basically what I'm selling. Carbon fiber shell that you would buy from a retailer online, and then you're able to swap out all of your components back into the steering wheel in order to make it usable. But obviously you're going to be putting the airbag last, because you need to be able to mount your steering wheel, right? And make sure that it sits really well. A tip: when you're putting back your steering wheel, clean out, make sure these ridges are nice and clean. Don't smooth them out, because you need these ridges in order to lock them into your steering rack column, in order so your steering wheel doesn't spit. So don't sand them, but just use a nice clean brush and make sure that the ridges don't have any debris and any dirt into here, because a lot of the times these frames are sourced from scrap yards. Okay, and the reason why I say this is you want to make sure that these ridges that are in there are clean. The reason why you want to make sure is so it sits nice and snug and proper. Okay, and any kind of debris that's in there might also prevent you later from removing the steering wheel. So what you want to do is you want to clean this up, put maybe a small little dab of oil in there, and the reason why you're going to do that, so when you put it back on, not to bathe it in oil, obviously. You're not lubricating your steering wheel. You're just putting a dab of oil in there. So when you put it back on and it mates with the ridges of your steering column, it's a nice, smooth connection. And also that oil that's in there is going to make it a lot easier if you ever need to swap it out back again, because since these ridges are clean and there's a little bit of oil in there, there isn't a lot of roughness and resistance. Okay. The key for holding these is the ridges mating with the steering column and the ridges of the steering wheel mating. It's not that, so it's okay to have it lubricated, because this is also going to be retained with a bolt, right? Don't go liberal with your lubrication. You're just making it sure that it's nice. It's got a little bit of a drop in there in order for it to make sure that it comes in smooth and it doesn't get stuck later, or it's lubricated for you to be able to pull it out. Because a lot of the times, if it's super rough, your steering column is dirty and super rough, what's going to happen is these are going to lock with all the dirt. You're going to have a hard time removing it later. So just a little bit tip, but this is pretty much it. And obviously you're going to just to recap, remove the airbag first. I remove the cruise control. Doesn't really take that long. I remove this retainer bracket as well, because that will allow me to remove this plastic cover in the back. And then finally, lastly, it was the switches. And I have all my hardware here, so it's super easy to put back now. And that's pretty much it. So before you put this on, obviously you're gonna put the back cover. You're gonna put the cruise control, this, and the switches. And then once this is mated onto your steering wheel, okay, or on your car, you're going to put the airbag last. All right, hopefully you guys enjoy this and made it a little bit easier on how to do it, especially if a 2006 Lexus. Very similar for other Lexus models, the ISs as well. And I would probably imagine maybe more of the other Toyota steering wheels as well that are out there. For other cars, I'm sure it would be probably similar, because all of Toyotas are very similar. And that's it. So enjoy, all the best.